Hi. Hey, what's up? You want to try some coffee? Sure. What you're giving me? Well, you're such an expert. Maybe tell me. Is that light roast from Honduras, processed naturally, and you made that with Calita wave? Dude, you're holding it in your hands. Well, do you like it? Nah, it's under extracted. What do you mean? I think you could give it a little bit more time of contact with water to extract it a little bit more. You do it by adjusting your grind size. This one is really watery and sour, but not like green apple sour, but more like you soaked your paper filter in the vinegar first and then you did that coffee. Whatever. She asked, so I answered. Conversations like this happen in my head on a daily basis, but most of the time when I deal with the new beans and try to brew something nice out of them. Whether that is a French press, pour over, or espresso shot, the coffee at the very beginning of my journey with it usually lacks something for me. You name it. It might be lack of sweetness, or it might be the body, so the texture of the coffee, that it's too thin that I would prefer. Or on the other hand, it might be too bitter for my likings, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a result of using the brewing method not accordingly to the roast profile or vice versa. So let's talk about coffee being over-extracted or under-extracted and how adjusting your grind size and checking the time of extraction might be very helpful to make the coffee tasting really balanced. Cześć, it's Michalina from Coffee That Gives a Pack. Today we are adding another element in our jigsaw puzzle of how to make the coffee tasting the best to the beans' potential. At the end of the series, which started here, you will nail the coffee each time you make it. I honestly suspect that there is more over or under extracted coffee in this world than coffees that were extracted to the best of their balance. It's time to change it. Very simply speaking, the event of extraction is a process of dissolving the coffee flavor compounds in water. The smaller the pieces of the coffee, the quicker it extracts. So for that reason, we grind the coffee. I think we all know that, right? But did you know that the water dissolves the coffee compounds in very particular order? At the very beginning of the coffee extraction, the fat and acids dissolve in water and that tastes sour. Second in the line we have sugar and that tastes sweet. And the last what is dissolved are the plant fiber and that tastes bitter. The ideal cup consists of all of those flavors. But if we extracted our coffee for too long, it becomes too bitter. We dissolve too much of the bitter parts. If, on the other hand, we were not extracting coffee for long enough, then there's not enough sweetness or there's a little bit of bitterness that we desire in the coffee in your cup. Interesting fact. The coffee physically cannot dissolve more than around 30% of the compounds that it's built of. It's just its nature, it just won't extract more. How cool is that? The window of the correct time of extraction varies depending on the brewing equipment. Each of them is designed to make the coffee in a little bit different time. Some of them make coffee really fast, some of them make the coffee really quickly, and it all is very much correlated with the grind size. Adjusting the grind size between each of the methods is crucial for having the control over time of extraction. And the scale of grind size, starting from really fine coffee, being it like a flour almost, going through medium up to the coarse one where the coffee is really coarse, the particles are really big, is massive. And you will find thousands of different type of charts in the internet of what brewing technique needs what kind of grind size. But I think there is no ultimate way of grinding your coffee. But I think there is no ultimate way of how you should be grinding your coffee for particular method, because each coffee is a little bit different. You have your own preferences. So I will give you a little guide of what is worth to start off with, but then you just adjust it to your own perfect cup, so whatever you liked the most. Taking the 4 categories that I created for you in this video, click! For the methods that make coffee really quickly, like espresso machine or mocha pot, I would encourage you to start making your coffee with quite fine size. If your time of coffee extraction needs to be a little bit extended because, for example, you make in the pour over, then the type of your grind size would be described as medium, something like this. When we are talking about the 3rd category, so the very adjustable equipment like AeroPress, I have no recommendations. You can really, with this equipment, grind your coffee quite fine, but also very coarse. And if you just change the way how you use the equipment, should I make a video about the AeroPress? You can make coffee tasting really awesome. And the 4th category, so like a French press, your coffee can stay a little bit coarser as the time of extraction is a little bit longer. It's more like 5 minutes. If you're making yourself a cold brew, it's even longer. And so the coffee like this will do the job. To give you even better picture of how understanding why grind size and time of extraction matter, I will make 3 pour-overs, all with the same coffee, with same amount of coffee, same amount of water, but with different grind size. Coffee that you can see to the left was ground really fine, close to the espresso type of grind size. The middle Michalina is making coffee with a medium grind size, so something that she knows is recommended for pour-overs, so the time of extraction will fit in the windows of around 3 minutes. And for the very right coffee, the very right video, the coffee was ground really coarse. The particles are bigger than I would recommend for this kind of brewing method, and it's a little bit exaggerated, but just so you will understand what having coffee that is not fine enough means. Now pay attention to the time of extraction. Look how differently the coffee is dripping to the vessel. This is an indicator of how fast or how slow the water goes through the coffee. The finer the coffee is, the slower the water goes through it. So let's start with the coffee that was ground quite coarse, as it's ready and the other are not. The coffee tastes not really nice. It is sour, even a little bit salty, wouldn't give it to a friend. The middle brew, as expected, tasted way more balanced. There was a sweetness, the pleasant acidity was present, it was juicy on the tongue. With each sip, I really wanted to drink more of it. And the coffee to the left, so the one that was grinded quite fine, was extracting for so long that it resulted with something that with each next sip I really felt like drinking only more water, because it made my mouth really dry, something that coffee professionals would describe as astringent. I also wouldn't give it to a friend. Sometimes, especially when I get my hands on new beans, the beans that I haven't tried to brew yet, it is a matter of few runs until I reach the sweet point of the taste of the coffee that I prefer the most. Sometimes I really have to adjust my grinder for a few, not just up or down, a few times before I reach the point when the coffee tastes perfectly for me. Or if I switch between the equipment, I use the same coffee beans, but I use it for both AeroPress and pour-over, so the grind size changes drastically between those two methods. So here I am, a big ambassador of having your coffee ground freshly, ideally with your own good grinder. Good grinder, so the grinder that grounds the coffee particles evenly, so each of the little parts of the coffee is the same size, or at least as similar to one another as possible. That does have an impact on coffee extraction, and that also is subject on totally different video. So if you are an owner of a good grinder and you can easily adjust the grind size for whatever brewing equipment and coffee you want to, you are a very lucky person. But if you buy coffee in the supermarkets, your options are very, very limited. You just have to buy the coffee as it is, and quite often the coffee commodity bag doesn't even inform you about what type of grind there is. Not to even mention that the coffee was sitting on the shelves for who knows how long. Reach out to the specialty coffee roasters. Most often you can order the coffee in form of whole beans or specifically ask for plunger, filter coffee or espresso coffee. Worst case scenario, if that coffee still turns out to be a little bit too coarse for your coffee or too fine for your equipment, you can communicate with the roastery next time you order coffee, and I'm pretty sure they will do everything they possibly can to meet your expectations. So did I meet your expectations? Did this episode help? Let me know in the comments below. You can like the video, even better you can subscribe to my channel. That would make me a very, very happy barista. That way we can reach to more people and specialty coffee industry would make more sense to more of the coffee drinkers. Let's do it together. Peace of coffee. So do you want to try another one? Yeah, sure. I adjusted the grind size this time. Did you check the water temperature though? What?